Hi there and welcome. This is Giuseppe Corcella from Virtual Orchestration, and today I'm going to review the Violin Textures library by Emergence Audio. First of all, I want to thank Emergence Audio for kindly sending us a copy of the library to review. Violin Textures sells for $79. It's made for the free version of Kontakt and it's NKS compatible. You need the full version of Kontakt or the Kontakt Player 6.6 or later. Its size is 1.91 gigabytes installed, and on the website you can see a lot of information about the library itself, the patches, the interface, and also the included presets, which are quite a lot. What are they meant for, and also the original sampled articulations. To fully understand what you can do with this library and with this engine, I also strongly recommend you to check out the videos on the Emergence Audio YouTube channel, in which Mike Vignola explains everything you need to know about this library and the Infinite Motion engine. The library comes with one main NKI instrument and a bunch of presets, and also some multi-instruments. It's based on the Emergence Audio's Infinite Motion engine. Basically, this library starts with some sampled common violin articulations, but it's not a normal string library. Indeed, thanks to this engine, you can shape the original sound into something completely different. Indeed, this library is not meant to be used as an acoustic violin, but more as a textural library for soundscapes, for underscore textures, for sound design also. You can really do a lot of things with this engine. First of all, we have here a main oscillator, and we can control the depth from here and the rate. The main oscillator affects all the other parameters, meaning that if, for example, the depth here is set to 100%, you can get 100% of the potential of the oscillator from any other parameter. You have a smaller oscillator under each parameter. But if this is set to less than 100%, for example, let's say 70%, when you change any other smaller oscillator amount, you can get just a portion of the total amount you can get from the library, meaning that if this is set to 35%, for example, this will be the 35% of 70%, because this is the main oscillator. On most of the pages of this library you have two articulations. You can of course enable or disable, and also as you can see, it will purge the samples from the RAM if disabled. You can enable or disable one of the two articulations, but of course you can get the most of it by layering them together and make the player play around with these articulations, and maybe also go from one side to the other side. It's really interesting in my opinion. By clicking on this, you will see the original sampled articulations, and you can choose between them. All the parameters are the same for both the articulations, and you can also link the parameters of one articulation to the other, meaning that if the link button is on, you see it here, but you see also here, every change you make on one articulation, it will reflect on the other side. You see? This big knob is for crossfade between one layer to the other, and it's assigned to CC1. All these parameters are CC assignable, which is pretty useful when it comes to evolving sound inside the piece. You can automate all these parameters. This is the volume of the two layers, and this is the fine tuning. Also, if you enable this button, you will see that the engine will move automatically depending on how you set the oscillator. So let's try just to enable a few of these buttons, so you will see how this works. And you can change the shape of the LFO, and this is the expression which is assigned to CC11. Also, this is a tool I really like, which is the random function, and thanks to this you can randomly change all the parameters inside. This is a very good starting point, and then you can just adjust some of them as you like to reach your sounding expectations. On the second page you have some FX, you have a convolution reverb, and you can choose between a lot of reverbs here, from very small reverbs to very long reverbs, and this is supposed to be all impulse response. And you have a delay here, you can sync it with the sequencer. You have of course a dry and wet knob to set the amount of delay or reverb to give to the sound. There is also a saturation here and a distortion knob here, and also a rotator and chorus option. One thing I almost forgot is that from the main page you can sync the tempo of the LFO to the tempo of your sequencer. The main patch is like an empty patch in which you can shape all the sound from scratch. And let's see the presets. You have 4 folders in here: correlated, dimensions, infinite pads, and pulses. In the correlated patches, the articulations are placed like they were into 2 completely different spaces by moving strongly some parameters on the opposite sides or something. For example, here I can see that the fine tuning is at 0 here, but this is on the very left side, and also the pen is different. The 2 articulations are the same, just set differently to get a different sound out of them. Okay, if you noticed, the waveform changes as I change the note. This is very important in my opinion, because you can actually see that all the notes were sampled differently, but also, as I tried to show you in the last part of the correlated patches, the demonstration, the sample is not just a long note, is evolving inside. You can also see it on the waveform, and as you could hear, these are treated in a different way. This is slower, darker, and also pitched differently, while this is a brighter violin sound, and you can actually see how the sound evolves inside the same sample. And also the overall sound is very good in my opinion, and very immersive. So let's go now to the dimensions. The dimensions presets are just one layer presets. This is just the actual sample with just an ADSR and a low pass and high pass cutoff and resonant filter, and then the FX page, which is also limited. You just have the delay and the convolution reverb here and the distortion. So basically, with this patch, I think you can just create a very simple sound of this library. I also noticed that as you add notes on the overall sound, the samples don't restart. The samples keep going, and you add textures over textures, and you finally create a very evolving sound. Let's go now to the infinite pads. These are way more than the others, and the reason why is that while the other were based on the actual articulations, indeed there were one preset for articulation shaped in order to meet the requirement of that particular preset style. Here you have a more experimental approach, and you see indeed two different articulations with different presets options. So these presets starts with the more that this library can offer. That's also interesting. As you change the pressure on the keys, it changes dynamic, so you also can play with different velocities. Okay, I find it very nice and quite inspiring. Here you can actually see how you can evolve the sound, in my opinion. Indeed, you don't have just one articulation, but you have two articulations playing around at the same time and with different presets and sometimes even strongly shaped. The last preset is pulses, and of course, as the name suggests, the engine is shaped to create pulses out of this sound. Okay, listening to the pulses presets, you can barely hear the violin. Maybe you just cannot. This violin now is shaped and turned into something completely different. Finally, let's hear how 2 or 3 multi-instruments sound. So, in conclusion, I really enjoyed this library. I don't see any red flags in there. The only thing maybe I would like to see in a library like this that I cannot find is a function to quickly and easily save the preset I create. You can do that from Kontakt, but I think it could be also nice from my perspective to have such this function directly inside the library. This is not really a concept, just something I personally like to pinpoint. In any case, the sound is great. You can create a lot of things out of this library, different things. You can shape the original sounds into something completely different, and I really like this. The engine is quite complex maybe to understand at first, but you can do a lot of things with this. All the parameters are signable, and this LFO is something I really like. You can shape it as you want, you can make every parameter do what you want, and also the random function is something I honestly appreciate a lot in libraries like this one. You also have a bunch of effects here, so you can create even more sounding differences and space the sound even more. Most of the presets looks like they are inside great and huge spaces. This is something quite useful on libraries like these that are not meant to be acoustic instrumental libraries, but are meant to create evolving textures. The main purpose of this library is to create some underscore textures, sound design, and some evolving space starting from acoustic samples. Another thing I really liked in this library is that the samples are different one from the other, and also it's not one note, but also the samples are evolving inside the duration of the sample itself. It's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you already tried this library, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. If you want to support virtual orchestration, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, join our newsletter if you wish, and if you like the video or if you have anything to point out, let me know in the comments below. We love to hear from you. So that's all. I wish you a good day and see you on the next review.